Hello, it's time for another conversation with one of our early childhood leaders in the state, and this lady certainly fits that description. Uh, Jennifer Calvert is the owner, director, teacher, transportation overseer, cook, bottle washer, and anything else you can imagine in Aberdeen, Mississippi at Calvert's ABC Preschool and Nursery. She is also the lead partner in the Monroe Early Learning Collaborative, which is one of the state early care and education preschool programs that is funded through the Department of Education. And I'm going to ask Jennifer to talk a little bit about that in just a minute or two. But Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And I just want to ask you a couple of questions, for instance, to tell those of us who may not be so familiar with how running a child care center works, particularly if you're the owner, and some of the struggles and some of the challenges that you may face in trying to provide a high quality early care and education program to your children, because you start with infants and go all the way to after school age children as well, if I remember correctly. So Jennifer, tell us a little bit about and you've been doing this for some time, so tell us a little bit about what you do and also what led you into this business, because you have been here in this business for some time.
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me this morning. I always like telling the story about how I got in childcare because I feel like it was a gift that was handed to me. Because when I first started in childcare, I never thought I would be in childcare. I was working for a company called Demarion Janitorial Services, and they had Demarion ABC Preschool and Nursery. So I was the bookkeeper for the child care center and the bookkeeper for the janitorial services. So when they dissolved the janitorial services, they asked me that I want the child care center. So it was like all what I had to do was just step in, become director, do a name change. Everything was there in place. It was just a gift given to me. So I look at that as a blessing that was given to me, and I just feel like maybe it was a God gift that this is something that He wanted me to do, not what I wanted to do. And I've been in it ever since, and it's just an interest at heart with trying to provide services for my parents on a high quality level and getting our children ready to transition into the public school. Now, as far as being a challenge, it's a big challenge. One of the biggest challenges that I encounter is staffing. You can get your staff trained, you can get them in, but once something better comes open, they are gone. They leave. So that's a real challenge. Staff changeover, trying to maintain staff, it's kind of hard, but I'm working at it and trying to give more incentives, if all possible, where I can, to try to hold on and maintain my staff.
Well, I have to ask you what impact COVID has had on your ability to stay open and keep staff and try to help parents that you know are working and they needed care. So how has that impacted your business?
Well, right now, my tenants is not where it were back when the pandemic hit. It's down, but we're still here, and I'm thankful for that. We do our temperature check and monitor our kids. Parents is working very well with us. We're still not letting parents in. We're kind of like stopping them right at the front door and monitor from there. And if we have any concerns about any of our children, and when we call the parents, they are not hesitating to come and pick up. So they are working real well with us. And I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Grayson for the supplies that we was able to get. That helped a bunch. When I say it helped, it helped. We are still using supplies, and that really helped out a whole lot.
Well, I'll pass that along to the legislators, and you have to say a special thanks to your Senator Bryant, because he was one of the main people in trying to secure that money for the child care centers in Mississippi. So we're glad that it was of benefit to you.
Yes.
And I also wanted to ask you, because I have had the benefit of knowing you for some time, that at one point in time you mentioned to me you had a plan and that you were going to work your plan. And if I'm not mistaken, you did work your plan and you had some additions that allowed you to have more children, that you were able to grow your business some. But what always struck me was that you had a plan, and that you were working your plan. And this was many years ago when we first met. And one of the things that I think it's important for the public to understand is that you run a business. I mean, yes, you have a high quality program for the children, and you're helping parents to stay in the workforce, but you have to, as you just mentioned, you have to maintain a budget yourself to be able to remain open. Uh, in terms of some of the expenses that I know that you incur, what would you say was your largest expense? Is it salaries? Is it food? Is it maintenance? What would be the largest part of your budget?
Salary would be the large expense. Now, something that has happened over the last year is the insurance, the liability insurance. My liability insurance went from like 5,000 a year to 10,000 a year. So it, we can't, I guess during this time, it went high risk for us, and I checked around, and checking from insurance to insurance company, that's kind of like when I took a toll on us. But like I say, we're still hanging in there. We're still maintaining, but salaries is my biggest expense. I receive USDA funding for food. So I'm thankful for that, because we do, receive enough to maintain our food.
And that's something that you have chosen to take advantage of. That's not something that all child care directors necessarily do, because you have to work with the USDA people. Is that correct?
You have to work with them, and you have to keep those books intact at all times. And they are, they inspect, you never know, but yes, but it's very helpful to ABC.
How many children are you licensed to serve?
I'm licensed to serve 181 children. And before the pandemic hit, I was averaging, I had like 120. Right now, I'm down to 85.
So that's a pretty good hit then, in terms of income that you're having to figure out how to manage, because it's still the same amount of money for the lights, I'm sure, and still the same amount of money for the liability insurance that you mentioned. If you were going to dream 5-10 years from now, what would be your wish or your vision for Calvert's and for other care situations, programs, whether they're family care or in licensed centers? What would be your vision or your wish?
My wish for child care centers and for my center, if a plan was put in place for the state to help with salaries for staffing, if they can do a match somehow or another, so that once we send these staff out there, they get trained and they get more qualified. In order to do high quality, you have to have that staff in place first. If you don't have that staff in place and you keep having a staff changeover, what you're doing is training staff after staff. So if you can get that staff in place, you can see the light down the line where you can say, well, all right, I got this in place, I can continue with this, and I can build. So if it was a way that the state could do a match, or either do a percentage of salaries somehow or another, if the money can be found, to help child care centers with salary so that we can maintain our staff. The other thing I would love to see, since we are part of the state and we receive this subsidized funding for the child care certificate, why is it that the staff cannot be part of the retirement or the state insurance? Because we lose staff because they are looking for that insurance benefit, that good insurance benefit, and they're looking for that retirement. So if I can vision, if I can somehow or another say, hey, if we can get into that portal somehow or another, I feel like we can get our staff kind of like, I feel like I can get my staff stabilized a little bit, because I know if I lose staff, they go on and they would take a cut I mean, when I say about a cut, they would go to the public school and be a assistant because they got the benefits of the retirement, they got the benefits of the insurance. So we lose there. So I would love to see that take place. I would love to see the child support go away for the parents to get assistance, because we do have parents that, you know, that need that child care assistance. And some of these parents is afraid to put these fathers on child support simply because they are helping them along the way somehow or another, but it's still not helping them with the child care part of it. But I would love to see the staffing part. I would love to see if we can serve all children that's in need of child care. Because
Well,
I feel like these children need this early start before they go to kindergarten.
well, you certainly have outlined 2 or 3 big dreams that I wish, along with you, that we can realize, particularly about the staffing and salaries, and as you mentioned, the eligibility requirement that prevents some children from getting in through the subsidy program because of the not participating in the Child Support Enforcement Act. And then also about some benefits, because you're competing with the public schools. You're absolutely right. But now I want to shift gears for a minute, because you wear another hat, and I think it's important for folks to hear about what it means to be the lead partner in the Monroe Early Learning Collaborative. So could you just talk a minute or two about what that means and what that's done for Monroe County in terms of services?
Okay. I am the lead partner for the Monroe Early Learning Collaborative, and we serve 4-year-old children. We have pre-K classroom in the Amory School District, the Aberdeen School District, the Monroe County School District, and we also have 2 childcare centers, which is Little Blessing and Calvert, and we have MAP Head Start. We have 3 classrooms with MAP Head Start. So we are providing high quality services to our 4-year-old children here in Monroe County and getting them ready for kindergarten in the public school.
And just to be clear, that's with a altogether separate pot of money through the Mississippi Department of Education, and is under criteria that you have to adhere to maintain your standings with them at the Department of Education, so you can continue to remain a partner in the collaborative. And it's wonderful to see the program in Monroe County grow from when it was even started before there was a collaborative to now, where you're involving different school districts, Head Start, private childcare, and that it's, I'm sure, a huge benefit for those parents who are working to know that their children are in a high quality pre-K program in all of the different schools in Monroe County. So hats off to you and to everybody in Monroe County who continue to support that program. How old is the collaborative now, Jennifer? How old is that? How long have you been operating?
Since 2016, so that's 5 years.
So 5 years, and that sounds like a pretty stable commitment by the community, because the community has to provide some match funds to go along with the Department of Education dollars. So, well, thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you've got to get back to do one of those many jobs that you have, but it's so important for the public to understand what it really means to run a business such as the childcare in our state, and how important it is, because the high quality piece is, as you have mentioned, very much tied to the teacher credentials and the stability of the teachers. And so that is a message that we need to continue to speak about over and over again. So thank you again, Jennifer, and I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I hope that the children can find their way back to you, and that we can finally get through some of these COVID situations that have created a lot of sadness and a lot of anxiety for parents all across the state. So thank you again, Jennifer, so much.
All right, thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Mm-hmm.